Democrats have just in the last couple hours released another batch of disturbing, never-before-seen images from Jeffrey Epstein's estate in the Caribbean, proving to Donald Trump that the story isn't going away anytime soon and ramping up the pressure on his Justice Department to release files, as is now required by bipartisan law. We got the first glimpses earlier today inside what Epstein's victims and survivors described as a, quote, house of horrors at the center of allegations of sexual abuse of teenage girls and the isolation they said they felt there. The images taken in 2020 after Jeffrey Epstein's death were shared with the House Oversight Democrats by law enforcement in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The committee's top Democrat, Congressman Robert Garcia, says the images offer this, a, quote, disturbing look into the world of Jeffrey Epstein and his island. We are releasing these photos and videos to ensure public transparency in our investigation and to help piece together the full picture of Epstein's horrific crimes. We won't stop fighting until we deliver justice for the survivors. It is time for President Trump to release all the files now. Here's some of what we know of what happened on Epstein Island. The Washington Post reported this about a lawsuit from law enforcement in the U.S. Virgin Islands, quote, to keep his victims from escaping, the lawsuit says. Jeffrey Epstein confiscated their passports, eliminated external communications, and threatened to hurt them. In one case, a 15-year-old girl who had been forced to engage in sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein tried to escape by swimming off Little St. James, according to the lawsuit. Jeffrey Epstein organized a search party and forced her to stay by confiscating her passport, the lawsuit says. I want to bring in MS Now senior contributing editor Michele Norris. Joining me at the table, legal analyst Christy Greenberg is here. She's a former criminal division deputy chief at SDNY, host of the YouTube show Courtside. I mean, Michele, that seems to constitute kidnapping and torture, that account of confiscating one's passport and searching for it. I mean, for someone to try to swim away has just a heinous clarity of depravity and desperation to get away.
Right. When you think of the ways in which sex trafficking happens and you think, oh, these are minors, and that alone is a crime. But then when you take into account, yes, he's defrauding them, he's taking their visas, making it so that they actually have no choice. They cannot leave the island. Just looking at those images, you see, as you pointed out in the opening, just how isolated it was. There really was no way out. And while on first blush, you look at it and it may seem as though, oh, this is a luxurious paradise, when you can't leave and when you're forced into those rooms to do things against your will, it becomes a nightmare. And these poor girls, think about how young they were being in that position, how difficult that must have been for them. Your heart, as you see the images, especially that one, I don't know if that's a dental chair, if that's where they did massages, but these creepy, weird masks of old white men, I don't know if they used those or if to maybe disguise people who were engaged in these acts or why that would be on the wall. That would be a question I would want to ask. It's just, it's weird, it's creepy, and, you just think these walls, what happened in all of these rooms? And it's just really, it's hard when you see those images to think what horrors went on there.
Michele, the survivors are so valiant, and I've had the honor and privilege of interviewing several of them here. And I'm always sort of flattened by their courage to take this darkest chapter and share it with us for the larger aim of justice and making sure it doesn't happen again. But even hearing their stories didn't prepare me to see where they happened. And I would encourage anyone watching to go online. We'll put these up rather slowly. I mean, these aren't just pictures of a dead person's private island in the Caribbean. This is a crime scene. He was a criminal. He wore an ankle bracelet. He was a criminal. And this was the criminal's crime scene. This was where he at least psychologically tortured girls by not letting them leave. It's where he entrapped them by taking their passports. And it's where he raped them and trafficked them to other men. And it just, to have talked to enough of the victims, to hear them talk about their childhood and their innocence, dying when they were victimized by him and trafficked by him, this is where their innocence died, in these rooms.
Well, let's just take a moment and honor the victims and remember that seeing these images, many of us are seeing these images for the first time. For the people who actually spent time at Little St. James Island, they're returning to the scene of horrible acts. And so this is yet another assault on these women, now women, but were very young girls. And imagine being so desperate that you would try to swim in open water in the ocean on an island. I mean, where are you going at that point? You know, you're so desperate that you're willing to go into what are probably shark-infested waters with riptides and everything else. But seeing these pictures will have another impact on the American public. This is not happening in a court of law, but I think a prosecutorial playbook is at play a little bit here, because in prosecution, the pictures are very important because they help establish a permanent visual record. They help people understand the crime in a way that is a little less abstract, because you're seeing where things happened, and you're seeing, yes, it looks like a luxury compound, but you have this juxtaposition of this luxury compound and these little girls. Not women, little girls, some as allegedly as young as 11 years old, who are on an island so far away from their family, so far away from anyone who could protect them and could look out for them. And it is something that also is a way for the people who are asking for the files to be released, is a reminder to Donald Trump that they're going to continue to release this material. They also, said today, the Oversight Committee said today that they were able to obtain financial records from JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank, which is another reminder to Donald Trump, there may be more coming. You can try to sit on top of the files, but they're going to continue to try to send as much out to the public as possible. And this, every time it happens, it is a reminder that the president of the United States had, and he can admit that, he can try to say that he has no connection to Jeffrey Epstein, but it is a reminder that he had a long-standing relationship with a sexual offender who's accused of heinous acts.